Most governments don't like cryptocurrencies, mainly because they have absolutely zero control over it. And this is actually a good thing. But most countries now are in the process of developing their own centralized bank digital currency, which is meant to go and replace things like Bitcoin. And this will usher in a new form of authoritarianism. Obviously, this is not good for us. For example, look what happened with the Freedom Convoy up in Canada. The Canadian government went and shut down all of their funding, with the exception of Bitcoin. And that's the reason why they want to have a centralized digital currency. The reason why a digital currency that is backed by a centralized bank is such a bad idea is because it gives the government complete control over your access to money. Just think about it. If there's something that you are doing that the government doesn't like, they have the ability to go and take your money away and lock it down, just like what we saw what happened with the Freedom Convoy in Canada. Now, another thing that could be used against you is your carbon footprint in the form of the things that you purchase. Back in 2019, Dichotomy was launched by MasterCard and the UN. Essentially, it's the world's first credit card that has a limit, a carbon limit. That's right. If you go and you buy a bunch of things and you exceed that carbon limit, well, your card stops functioning. Let's go take a look. Neo Black, the world's first credit card with a carbon limit. And this came out back in April of 2019. Now, one thing I do want to note that this so far is only applying to Sweden. Dichotomy is now launching the world's first credit card with a carbon footprint limit, Neo Black. The launch of this premium card marks the first milestone in the support that Dichotomy provides the UN Climate Change Secretariat, UNFCCC, to encourage global climate action. Neo Black not only helps users track and measure CO2 emissions associated with their purchases, but also puts a limit to the climate impact of their spending. Users can now sign up to register interest for the Neo Black. Now, so far, Neo Black is only being applied in Sweden, but it's not like it would be too difficult to roll it out across the rest of the world. Now, this exact same logic can apply to a centralized bank digital currency. If you go and buy things that the government doesn't want you to buy, well, they can punish you for it. And they're going to be using your carbon score, your ESG score, and any other thing that they want to tack onto this vaccine passport to do so. Now, I think we're going to see more and more justification for going and rolling out this digital currency. Now, this came out a couple days ago. BlackRock CEO says Ukraine invasion could be used to accelerate use of central bank digital currencies. Now, my crazy conspiracy theory about with the war in Ukraine is that it's going to be used to go and dethrone the petrodollar. If you're not familiar with what the petrodollar is, for the most part, oil can only be traded in US dollars. And we have a nasty habit of going to war with people who don't want to trade in US dollars anymore. So not only that, this could also potentially remove the US dollar from the world reserve currency. And if that all happens, it will tank the US dollar, probably causing hyperinflation. And then that will justify a replacement for it. And yes, the US is actually working, or at least exploring, the potential for a central bank digital currency. This is coming from federalreserve.org, Central Bank Digital Currencies, CBDC. While the Federal Reserve has made no decision on whether to pursue or implement a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, we have been exploring the potential benefits and risks of CBDC from a variety of angles, including through technological research and experimentation. Our key focus is on whether and how a CBDC could improve on an already safe and efficient U.S. domestic payment system. CBDC is generally defined as a digital liability of a central bank that is widely available to the general public. Today in the United States, Federal Reserve notes, i.e. physical currency, are the only type of central bank money available to the general public. like existing forms of money, a CBDC, would enable the general public to make digital payments. As a liability of the Federal Reserve, however, a CBDC would be the safest digital asset available to the general public with no associated credit or liquidity risk. Now, this is completely counter to cryptocurrency. The whole idea behind it is the fact that it's not centralized whatsoever. There is no government that goes and regulates and controls it. And anybody with a digital wallet has the ability to go and sell goods and services using cryptocurrency. They want the ability to go and tax every single transaction, much like what we've been seeing currently with them wanting to go and tax unrealized gains. It's just another way for the government to slip their fingers into your pocketbook. The CEO of BlackRock, one of the biggest investment corporations in the world, thinks that the war in the Ukraine and events surrounding it could be used to accelerate the adoption of digital money controlled by central banks. In a letter to shareholders sent on Thursday, Larry Fink, who is aptly named by the way, wrote that this could prove to be one of the outcomes of the war and are currently, by and large, under the radar. According to Fink, whose company manages $10 trillion worth of assets, countries around the world will be reevaluating what he calls their currency dependencies. And by currency dependencies, he means the US dollar. With the onset of the war, the US and its allies added Russia's central bank to their list of entities targeted by sanctions, which brought about a surge in transactions on centralized Bitcoin exchanges in both Russia and the Ukraine, and in both of their currencies. Reports interpret this as a realization that stable coins, cryptocurrencies, whose market's values is pegged to fiat currency, gold, etc., can provide safety for assets and a way to evade sanctions. The BlackRock CEO's letter shows that the trend of major financial players starting to take cryptocurrencies seriously continues. Born out of the 2008 financial crisis, this form of money was treated with distrust and even derision for a long time. But now Fink writes that BlackRock's clients are becoming increasingly interested in both cryptocurrencies, stable coins included, and in the blockchain tech that underpins them. And for that reason, BlackRock now considers centrally controlled digital money as an emerging class of assets that the corporation is now studying in a bid to serve its clients better. But it's not just BlackRock who is interested in digital currencies as well. We are now seeing the Bank of England teaming up with MIT to look into creating a digital currency. The Bank of England recently announced that it is forming a partnership with the Digital Currency Initiative at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The goal of this new deal will be to engage in a joint research regarding the topic of central bank digital currency. I think it's pretty much safe to say that at this point, it's not if, it's a matter of when centralized bank digital currencies will be hitting the market. My speculation would probably be sometime in the next 5 years. Now, this next article also comes from Reclaim the Net. As a matter of fact, all the articles I cover tonight have come from this website, and I do highly recommend you go and check them out. Much is being said by crypto evangelists about the power of decentralized digital currencies to liberate people from the constraint of banks, central banks, and governments, and secure, unfettered access to their own money. On the other hand, states are looking to centrally harness the power and regulate it in a way that many others fear that mark the rise or the strengthening of authoritarianism. This specifically concerns many countries around the world either considering or moving towards issuing their own national centralized digital money. In part, at least, this is a way to regulate the otherwise elusive, truly decentralized version of cryptocurrencies. Because of the nature of cryptocurrencies that are based on blockchain as a ledger that record every transaction, governments would have unrestricted and easy access and command and control over when, how, and what people do with their money. And this ties exactly back into what I was talking about at the very beginning of this video. Beyond simply keeping an ever watchful eye over what citizens are up to, governments would also be able to decide on more radical and immediate terms, much more damaging moves, such as cutting people off from their money. The world has recently learned through Canadian authorities flabbergasted actions when bank accounts of participants in a civil protest were frozen. that this is perfectly doable even without centralized government-issued digital money. But imagine if that form of currency were the only one available. The unprecedented level of financial mass surveillance itself would be almost insignificant compared to the potential damage done by replacing all other forms of currency, including fiat money and cash as one of its manifestations, says critics. Now, there are other pitfalls as well. One of them is, let's say you owe the IRS money. Well, they can simply go and take it from your bank account without your permission. And your bills and your groceries be damned. They'll just take it from you. The other thing is negative interest, which makes it very difficult to save up money. The idea behind negative interest is the longer you have the money, well, you start losing it rather than accruing it, like what we do now, or allegedly, because it's very small. It just makes it very difficult for you to be able to go and save up money, potentially to buy a house, land, a new car, whatever. What it's trying to do is promote a habit of spending the money rather than saving it. And that plays right into the Great Reset, right? You'll have nothing and you'll be happy. That's all I got for tonight. This is Ian, signing off.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production may corrupt previous psychological programming. If you encounter any of the following individuals, please administer government-issued neurotoxin immediately. I'm not sure what the neurotoxin will do because I am not a biologist. CRT is a complex legal theory that is needed to combat the epidemic of racist babies. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.